We're in 6th gear now. Just kidding, it's a KLR. We're in 5th gear now, doing 70 indicated on the dash, and we seem to be having a bit of a problem. Something's wrong here. No, this is... What is going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Ben, and I've been riding dual sport motorcycles for almost 10 years now. And in that time, I have definitely dropped a few bikes. It's just something that's gonna happen when you ride trails, especially when you maybe take bikes a little bit bigger out on really kind of hairy trails that you really shouldn't be on. It's just something that's gonna happen, and you have to be prepared for it, which is why I put crash bars on bikes, why I always run aluminum core bark busters to protect my levers. But one thing that I just never really saw the merit in replacing was mirrors. When I bought my Gen 2 KLR 650, it came with some like $15 or $20 aftermarket mirrors that honestly are probably my favorite mirrors. They look great, they work great. And when I did drop that bike and finally bust one off, because in all those years I've only ever busted that one mirror off, I decided it really wasn't worth spending the $100 and I think now $120 on a set of the adventure mirrors or the dual sport mirrors that everybody seems to think is so necessary for trail riding, because I could buy probably 6 or 8 sets of those $15, $20 aftermarket mirrors that really worked pretty great. And like I said, only ever actually busted off once. I just ended up buying another set of them and never actually had another problem. But when it came to the 701 here, I decided that I wanted to try something a little bit different, just because I kind of planned on putting this bike through a little bit more even than the rest. And to be honest, the stock mirrors on here just kind of stuck out like a sore thumb and didn't really go with the rest of the aesthetic of the bike. So I installed these little flip out mirrors that don't actually flip out. These are supposed to go on a different set of hand guards. And honestly, I'm really pretty pleased with how these look on the bike, but as far as actually working, they're pretty awful. Not only are they incredibly small, but because of their convex shape, everything in them seems much smaller and much farther away. And because they don't really stick out very far, I almost have to move my elbows out of the way or just completely take my arm off of the bar to really be able to see anything behind me. So these will eventually be going on the 701, but today we're just gonna throw them on the Gen 3 KLR. Maybe eventually I will buy a set for that bike as well. We got clamps, if you don't have any. And we've got, looks like, some different thread adapters here. And then finally, the mirrors. So I have no idea what kind of quality these are really gonna be. Obviously, when you buy brand name stuff and not the cheap knockoffs, you're gonna probably get a lot better quality. But honestly, I've gotta say, these seem like they're pretty decent anyways. I think the balls are not rubberized though, they're actually plastic, which I guess I've never actually had a set of the good ones in my hand. I would, like I said, assume that they're gonna be better, but these honestly don't seem too darn bad. Definitely a much larger mirror than what's on the KLR stock. And I would say that they're mildly larger than what I've been trying to see through. So I'm actually really pretty excited about these. I think it'll be a nice option to be able to flip them out of the way. Obviously having the slightly larger mirror will be much safer, and they actually look pretty good too. So let's throw them on the KLR and we'll take them out for a ride. So instead of righty-tighty, it's gonna be righty-loosey. I guess we're gonna have to pull this one out too, and I believe that is also threaded backwards. Nope, that one's threaded regular. And it looks like it's a good thing that they've given us these extra adapters, because we will need one for the KLR anyways. With all that tightened down, we can loosen this up and adjust it. I think maybe it's just a bit of a shock compared to the circle mirrors. These are definitely not something that I would think that I would ever prefer. I think maybe I just kind of got used to them over the years, and I would assume that these will start to look a lot more natural and a little bit better on the bike after I get used to them a bit. But I think going out and seeing how they actually perform out on the road and off the road will be a big deciding factor whether or not I decide to buy a set for this bike as well. So let's get suited up and see how they work on the road.
So I've actually done this run twice now. My camera didn't work the first time. I'm not sure what's going on here. It doesn't seem like these things are actually moving, but it seems like every time I'm able to turn them a lot more. So I don't know if I'm just maybe not tightening them as much as they are intended to be, but we've got them both lined up now, so I guess we can at least keep an eye on whether or not that part is moving. Otherwise, I guess it kind of makes me nervous that maybe I'm stripping something out inside of there or bending something, but I don't know. I guess we'll just see how they do here. Cross our fingers that is not headed this way. I don't think it is. So we will hop on the highway, do a test run there, and then we'll hit some county roads, do a test there, and then finally hit some gravel. And after that, we will circle back, switch these onto the 701, and then take that bike on some single track for some real dirt pounding, and we'll see how they hold up. Ooh, wow, I left the camera way too far out. So as you'll notice, they do kind of move a little bit with the vibration of the bike or the RPM of the motor, which obviously is just kind of to be expected. On a thumper, you're going to get some vibration through the bars. However, I think it is probably worth mentioning that I do not have the stock bars on here. I've got a fat bar with some fat bar conversion risers. So that in itself kind of smooths things out a little bit. I do also have the bark busters with the bar end weights, so depending what you've got for a handlebar setup, you may affect the vibration of these slightly. So we're in 6th gear now. Just kidding, it's a KLR. So we're in 5th gear now, doing 70 indicated on the dash, and we seem to be having a bit of a problem. So I don't know if it's the vibration mixed with the wind. I mean, obviously these are pretty wide profile. The first test of this went a lot better. I guess it's a good thing I'm kind of out for a second. This is actually the one that lost its position on the way back to restart this again. It seems like that one, yeah, is having some problems. Huh. Well, as you can see in that one, there is, I guess what I would say is an acceptable amount of vibration. It's enough that I can kind of see what the vehicle behind me is, but obviously it is moving a bit. This one I'm staring at my gut, I guess. And I mean, it is nice that if they were to take an impact, they'd move out of the way. But I don't know, I'm thinking maybe having a rubberized ball in there with a little bit extra grip would be better. So that's a little disappointing. But as far as how they work when they're in their proper position, I feel like I can definitely see around my shoulder, no problem. Definitely get a good picture of what's behind me. If it wasn't for this, I would say that I'm actually really pretty impressed with these on the highway. Whoa! The pavement's got a little bit of a lip to it there. Yeah, so I don't know, I'll have to see if I can get this cranked down a little bit more. It seems like maybe I finally got them tight now. Yeah, why am I able to do that though? Something's wrong here. No, this is... What is going on? It's like they'll tighten, and then all of a sudden they get tight again. Yeah, that one. Somebody will have to let us know that has the expensive version if that's also an issue, if you really do just have to really crank them down. I don't know. It's strange that that first highway run they did just fine. I had zero issues, and then after I tightened them some more, then they stopped working. I guess I have been kind of batting them around a little bit, but that's a little concerning. Let's see what we get on the county road here. So they are able to be adjusted a little bit, even when they are, I guess, tightened down. I don't know how tight they really are. So at, I guess what I would say is my kind of preferred cruising speed on the KLR. They are definitely smoother. You still get a little bit of vibration, especially when you go over the bumps. But, I mean, I think that's kind of just to be expected. They are, like I said, quite a bit bigger than the stock mirrors, so there's more mass and more area for the wind to catch and to be bouncing around. But I would say they're more than sufficient. I can see behind me pretty clearly. I think they move a little bit more, but I don't know that they actually vibrate any more than the stock mirrors do. I mean, those definitely have some movement and vibration to them as well. We'll hit some gravel here and see what that does for us. Now, this is a fairly rough gravel road. We've got kind of some bigger rocks here that look like they're not quite pressed down into place yet, so makes the bike shift around a little bit and definitely causes some vibration, which is certainly being picked up by the mirrors. That I think definitely is much worse than the stock mirror. I don't know, not great, but not terribly. They're definitely usable still. I love being out when it's storming. What an awesome part-time job. Thanks to all of you guys who support me on Patreon. I now have channel membership available just through YouTube. You guys can sign up for if you're interested. There's a bunch of perks that kind of come along with that. You can kind of take a look at the different tiers down in the description, and definitely thank you to all of you guys who have been using my affiliate links. If it wasn't for all those things that I just listed, there's no way that I could continue to do this. I do not make nearly enough to pay for my time, or even close to my time, through ads and stuff. There must be a big bird up there. Where the heck is he? Oh. I don't know what that was. So you guys are definitely a big part of this channel and a big part of keeping this going, because it just monetarily would not make sense for me to spend here as much time otherwise. So thanks to you guys. I can't say whether or not I would recommend these yet, or even if I will pick up another set for the KLR, but there will be a link for these things as well as everything else that I'm using down in the description. If you use those links and purchase anything from those sponsors, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does help me to continue focusing on making videos for you guys. Alright, so it turns out that may have been just a bit of user error here. I cranked each of these down at least another half a turn, and now it seems like at 70 we've got absolutely no problems, and they're a bit smoother, right? Boy, I think so. I mean, I guess I'm looking at a Mack truck behind me instead of a little car, but nah, they move around a little bit. Either way though, obviously holding their position no problem now, so just make sure you crank them down until the point that they're actually not going to move anymore. You just got to be a little rough on them, I guess. Yeah, boy, at 60 they definitely seem like they're smoother now. Maybe that's in my head, I don't know. Well, I figured it's probably worth hopping on another gravel road here now that I've got them actually tightened down to where they're supposed to be. However, I guess now, honestly, that they are so tight and somewhat immovable, I am a little afraid that if I go down, that this connection here is going to bust off. But as far as the vibration goes on the gravel road, ow, what the heck just hit me in the forehead? That hurt. I don't know if they're any better. I guess this is a little smoother of a gravel road. They still move around a bit. I don't know. What do you expect, I guess? So there's no two ways about it. These things vibrate a lot on the 701. I actually wasn't even planning on doing any really road filming or back road filming or gravel filming. I was just gonna do the single track, but I think it's definitely worth noting that these things are pretty vibey out here and definitely make it pretty hard to see what's going on behind you. They're still way better than the last little tiny set that I had on here, because I can actually see out of them. But what I'm seeing is pretty bouncy, and the reason that I stuck the stock mirror back on here is because that one is also pretty vibey. So I mean, you can kind of see the new one moves around a lot more. I mean, I don't know if you could stick anything on here, you know, and it would be any better than the stock mirrors. I guess maybe it would. If anybody else has any other suggestions for mirrors on this bike that do not vibrate like either of these do, I guess definitely let us know down in the comments section. But I guess I would say a little bit disappointed. I mean, they're usable, but I mean they're kind of borderline usable. I mean, they're definitely they're not nice to look out of. I guess I'll say that. But again, neither are those. One thing I have noticed though is when I go to pull the clutch in, the new ones still kind of bounce around, where the stock ones, I mean, I guess still bounce around a little bit. It's just noticeably less. Can't see around you there, Porsche. As we go up in speed and RPMs, it seems like at different RPMs and different speeds, this one will get kind of a little bit worse at some points, and then I guess sometimes they're about the same, but the majority of the time this one is better. Every once in a while I'll notice that this one is actually a little bit harder to see out of than this, but it doesn't happen very often. So out here, the story sounds pretty similar. Both of them kind of vibrate along with the motor RPM, sort of no matter what you're doing, unless the clutch is pulled in. But the adventure ones definitely seem to bounce around a bit more, just like they did on the KLR, depending on the terrain that you're riding over. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess everything's going to be kind of bouncing around a little bit when you're doing stuff like this. But I think it does seem like maybe they're a little worse than the KLR out here. I don't know, maybe not. I mean, I guess probably just because of the constant engine vibration. We'll jump on the single track here in a second. But one thing that I do have to sort of shamefully admit is that I do really like how these look on here better than the stock mirrors do. I mean, it just kind of makes it look a little bit more like an adventure bike. And originally, I really was going to think of this as more of kind of like my ridiculously heavy single track bike. That's really pretty darn capable out here. But now that I've got the Highland X2 rackless system on here, I really hope I don't take that camera out. This is going to be fun. And by fun, I mean not fun. Riding on the side of the single track. Now that I've kind of stuck the luggage on here and taken this on a camping adventure and seen how awesome it is, just because you can kind of still do crazy stuff like this. Ooh, them rocks. It's kind of made me think of it a little bit more like an adventure bike. So having the mirrors on here kind of just make it look a little bit more adventure. And obviously that's not the point of getting out here. Is to look adventure. I'm not going to Starbucks to show this thing off. I'm actually needing it to perform. So it's a little crappy that on the road they don't perform as well as the stock mirrors, or at least marginally worse. But off the road, it is nice that they're a little bit more low profile. And if you were not super lazy like me, every time you go do silly stuff like this, you would loosen the nut up and fold this thing in. What I think I'll end up doing once in a while, if I remember, if I feel like it, is just loosening them up a tad. So basically, if this gets an impact, I'm hoping that this moves before this breaks. The only thing is, you kind of have to find a bit of a sweet spot where that will happen without this just moving when you're riding around and bouncing off of logs and rocks and stuff. So we'll see if that thing moves. I think I kind of got an idea where it is after we do some terrain like this. I'm gonna crash my bike and break something else, just trying to save that camera out there, although that's the only good camera it seems like I have, since everything else, there we hit a tree with it. Every other camera that I have, mainly the newer one on my face, keeps screwing up on me. This is, I think, like the fourth time I've had to redo something on this. I've ran this single track twice now, I think. And when I was filming with the KLR, I had to refilm the whole thing. Whoa, I always forget that giant rock is there. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm about done with my GoPros. Dork on the Road's been using some other brand that I don't remember. Maybe I'll have to see if I can get my hands on some of those, because this is just ridiculous and annoying. Did that move now? It almost seems like it did, but not really in the direction I would have assumed. No, I guess maybe it's okay. Woo! And I'm actually using that camera out there now because the bars on this bike do just seem to move a lot more. I'm still recording, right? Talking about how these cameras haven't been working and I never actually stopped to check. There we go. That camera is way out there because the bars move so much, and I could never really get my Insta360 camera mount to work decent where it wasn't bouncing all over the place. And those cameras can make up for a lot, but not that much. So just kind of in general, it seems like these bars move a lot. And honestly, now that I've done this so many times and I keep constantly thinking about the vibrations that are happening on this bike. The hand grips are starting to bug my hands, and I feel like when I stand up a lot anyways, that my feet are getting bothered. I am so impressed with how this bike lugs through this stuff. I don't even need to touch the clutch. It's insane. I suppose it's partially because it's geared down. I guess maybe that's partially the suspension that sort of lets me float over all of it too. Needless to say, I do I do still really love this bike. It's just all of this talk of vibration has really got me kind of hyper focused on it.
Yeah, those vibey handlebars. Why is it that the 701 handlebars vibrate so much more than the ones on the KLR 650? Could it be that the 701 has Husqvarna branded handguards on it versus the Bark Busters on the KLR 650 here? Could it be the Tusk brand Chubb bar on the KLR 650, or even the Tusk branded 7 Ace to 1-in-1 Ace risers that I've got on here versus the stock fat bar on the Offset Rocks risers? Now, I think it's the fact that the KLR actually has bar and weights on it, where the 701 does not. It takes a lot more energy for this bar to keep wiggling around when it has this extra weight on here. So essentially what this does is just sort of keeps the bars from buzzing around too much. So before I give you my final thoughts on these mirrors, I'm gonna swap my bar and weights from the KLR over to the 701, and we'll do one quick final test just to see how much that helps.
Well, I really wish that I had some better news for you, and I guess I do have some good news. It seems that the Barkbuster bar end weights here have cleaned up my grips a bit, or cleaned up the vibration on them a bit. I think maybe if I had the kind of more pillowy, thicker rubberized grips that I've got on the KLR on here, it might even be better, but honestly, I mean, it did make enough of a difference. I think that I will probably pick up a set of these, and they're not cheap. They're like $50, unless somebody knows of a different brand that I could pick up rather than the Barkbuster ones. They're a little bit cheaper. Seem a little bit overpriced to me, but whatever. Anyway, it seems like that's helped that a bit. I don't know if I ever had this exact same rig set up here, but it seems like that is a little bit better, I guess, than it was, but that could just be a fluke in the way that I set it up to it. Either way, it seems like they definitely helped a bit, but they definitely did not help the mirrors at all. If anything, it seems like at some speeds anyways, some RPMs, they're actually worse, so I don't really know how exactly that works. I guess maybe it's a tighter buzz now, or a higher frequency buzz. I'm not sure if it's just the frequency of the motor or something to do with, I mean, the frame on this bike is quite a bit different than that of the KLR, so maybe it's just the way that it transfers it all up here. I don't think it's anything to do with my aftermarket risers, because the bars have always been pretty vibey on this. I really don't know. These are reflective and I can see what's going on behind me, but I mean, they're kind of useless, and honestly, I think if I didn't have another bike to stick them on, I would probably just leave them on here just out of stubbornness, just because I spent the money on them. But I think I probably will end up sticking these on the KLR, because on that bike, they do seem sufficient, and I think they are definitely usable enough. Not that much worse than the stock mirrors. I mean, on here, they just move too much. I mean, it's almost distracting when you're trying to look ahead at the road. So I think what I'll do, if not even just for a video, just to do a comparison between these and the name brand version, I think maybe I'll pick up one or maybe even two of the name brand version. Maybe I'll pick out something else and try something else too. I guess I haven't decided yet. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know down in the comments, or if any of you guys have a old set of double ticks laying around that you don't mind donating to the channel for some one-to-one testing, these versus those. Probably stick one on one side, one on the other, and we'll just kind of see what happens. Then I would be happy to do that testing. Otherwise, like I said, I'll just pick one out myself. So hopefully this was at least a little bit helpful to you guys. If it was, let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. If you guys want to help create more content like this and allow me to spend more time making videos for you guys and everybody else, take a look at all the ways that you can help down in the description, one being making a purchase. And if you don't want to purchase these, if you want to purchase a set of double takes instead, I've convinced you out of these, then I can put a link for those down in the description as well. Really, if you buy anything from any of those places after you click on the links, it will help support my reviews and adventure videos. So huge thanks to you guys that have been doing that. Huge thanks to the patrons, and we do have channel membership available. So if anybody's decided to sign up for that, big thanks to you, and thanks for everybody for supporting me this far. Until next time, take care, stay safe, stay swanky, get out, enjoy this absolutely beautiful world any chance you get. And if you can't do that right now, here's some more videos to check out in the meantime. thing's a beast.